Hi there! Welcome to Craft with Kathie. A fun project tonight using the transfer or stencil called the Journey. And it has such a beautiful saying. And then you have optional words. Let me move my things around a little bit here. That you could use instead of the saying in the middle. It really depends what you want to do. The default wording for this is, the end of one journey is the beginning of the next. But if you want to swap that out with the other words of just welcome to our home, it's easy enough to do. This is a brand new transfer. Sometimes I call it a stencil, sometimes a transfer. Same thing. Think of our transfers as stencils on steroids. There are some notable differences though. Our transfers are made with vinyl, which is the teal area, and silkscreen, and what you're seeing as white here is actually the silkscreen, and you're seeing through to the backer. Our transfers are adhesive backed and reusable. I'm going to cut this apart, cutting only the transfer itself, leaving the backer intact so that when I'm done, I'll put everything back together and it'll be one whole sheet. So when I store it, it'll look like one large piece, 12 by 18 inches, instead of individual pieces. Initially, I used to cut through the whole thing, but I found that by only cutting through the stencil itself, or the transfer itself, and keeping it in one piece, it's just easier to find when I'm shuffling through my transfers to find what I'm looking for. You can do it either way, whatever works the best for you. Here I've just scored or kind of cut through the top layer. As you can see, the backer is still in one piece. It just makes it easier when I'm looking for, shuffling through my stash, it makes it easier for me to find what I'm looking for. But if you want to cut them into individual pieces, you can do that also. So I've pretty much scored or cut the first layer here, and now I'm going to lift the transfer, or the area that I'm going to be using, off of the backer sheet. And oops, it looks like I didn't fully cut through. Let me kind of get that. I usually use a smaller scissors for scoring. Our stencils are made out of vinyl and silkscreen, and I just cut a little piece of silkscreen here. Get that out of the way. And adhesive backed. The vinyl is the teal part, the white is the silkscreen. You're seeing through the silkscreen through to the backer behind it. So I'm going to remove this from its little protective backer. And like I said, they're adhesive backed. And it's pretty sticky. I haven't used this. This is the first time I'm using it, so it's quite sticky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to diminish that stickiness a little bit. I'm using what is we call our fuzzing cloth. It's just it's a little cloth that's terry on one side, microfiber on the other. Usually I do things this way, and I just apply the transfer to the terry part of the fuzzing towel or the fuzzing cloth. You don't want to get it stuck to each other. You have to be careful of that. If you do, just gently nudge it apart a little bit. You never want to tug or pull, never a lot of force on your transfers, because just like fabric, if you pull it on the bias, it could distort or stretch. So we don't want to do that. So I'm just lifting up half of it at a time and fuzzing it. I will usually fuzz like 3 or 4 times on something new here. You kind of get a feel for how much stickiness it has. And the reason you want to diminish the adhesive is you don't want it to stick so snugly that when you want to lift it up that you struggle with it. Our transfers can be used on wood, chalkboard, dry erase board, metal, glass, mirror, fabric, paper, just about anything you could think of that has a low nap. When you're doing it on fabric, you want to make sure that the nap is pretty short. Otherwise, your image will look a little funny. But the smoother your surface is, the more you need to fuzz, because it'll stick very, very strongly on a very smooth surface. The surface that I'm going to use tonight is this oval that I thought was perfect for the image. So let me move this out of the way. I'm going to lift it off and center it here. And one of the things I absolutely love about chalking, and this is when I first saw it, I was like so enamored and just so taken with it, because I was blown away by the fact that if you make a mistake on a lot of surfaces, you can lift the I picked something up on the back here. On a lot of surfaces, if you make a mistake, you can spritz it with water and wipe it off. On chalkboard, now this is a chalkable shape. It's a chalkable oval. And basically it acts like a chalkboard. You want to make sure that you don't have any air bubbles. I have a little air bubble here. And I picked up some kind of little, I don't know, fuzz or something. So you want to make sure it's smooth, no air bubbles. You especially don't want air bubbles under any of the white area, because we're going to apply chalk paste, and it's going to go through the silkscreen and land on the back. So the silkscreen is the feature that gives us such beautiful definition and clarity on our images, things that you normally do not find in a regular stencil. Let me grab my jar of chalk paste and we'll get moving here. I had a little bit of a difficult time trying to decide what colors I actually wanted to use on this. But I'm going with the shimmer shadow. I need a stir stick here. I want to check the consistency of my chalk paste. I am using chalk paste. It is not chalk paint. It's totally different. Specially formulated to work with our stencils. So I just want to make sure this hasn't thickened up or anything. And it is a little thick, a little clumpy. So I'm going to spritz in a little bit of distilled water. I should have done this before I placed my stencil on here. So I'm going to stir it up. You want to use distilled water because sometimes the chemicals in your tap water can interfere with the pigments in the paste, and you might not get quite the color you were expecting to get. So you want it to be a little loose, but it should be able to, kind of like egg whites, soft egg whites, where it could still hold a peak, but you don't want it thick and clumpy. This needs a little bit more water. If you accidentally put too much distilled water in, just leave the lid off. It'll start drying out because it is made from chalk. And just give it a stir every now and then until it's the proper consistency for you. Okay, I think this is looking okay. I think it's okay. We'll find out soon enough. Get my lid out of here. Okay, and I'm going to do the center, the wording in shimmer shadow. It's like a dark, it's black, and it has a little bit of shimmer to it. That'll be a little bit interesting for the wording here. So I'm just going to apply it, smooth it over my silkscreen. Want to make sure that I don't hit my leaves for my wreath. So just go over it. Make sure I've got all the silkscreen covered. And you could change your oops, that's going to be a little bit hard. I didn't think about that. My stencil is off my surface, and it's actually sticking to my surface here. Okay. So when you get it through all the silkscreen, you want to go back over it, remove any streaks and any excess paste, and put it back in the jar. It's that easy. Now, normally, because this is going to be a rather quick project, I don't worry about how long it takes for my paste, but being that I'm going to be talking a little bit as I do this. I'm going to show you the peel, paste and peel technique. I've applied the paste, and now I'm going to lift it up. My E needs a little bit more there. Seems like it was a little bit light. Oops. I usually keep baby wipes handy to clean my fingers when I accidentally stick them in a jar of paste or something like that. So I'm going to lift it up and just let it sit for a moment or two while I clean up my fingers a little bit more. I don't want any chance that my chalk paste is going to dry in the Silkscreen. And generally, if you work rather quickly, if it's not a detailed transfer, your design is not detailed, or you're not using a bunch of different colors, you're fine. But like I said, being that I'm going to be chalking a little bit here, so I'm laying it back down. I'm not going to press over the wording. I'm just going to make sure that my wreath area is down. And now I'm going to lift up the other side. Just want to give that a chance to dry so it does not dry in my Silkscreen. And I am going to do the actual leaves in eucalyptus. So let me get that open and ready here. And this should be pretty good. I used it not too long ago. Yeah. Our creamy, dreamy paste. See, it'll hold a peak a little bit, but it's not real stiff. It's nice and malleable, if you will. Okay. So I'm going to put this back down. Go over. Oops, I've got a little black there. If I could wipe this up without getting it through it. Let's hope that doesn't smudge. If so, I'll just spritz it with water, clean that area, and re-chalk that section. Okay, so on with the eucalyptus. I'm going to grab a bigger squeegee. Basically, I'm using a squeegee to apply the chalk paste. And you can see it's angled on one edge. I'm going to grab some chalk paste here and just start applying it. I generally like to bring the squeegee towards me as I work. And we have different size squeegees. Obviously, if you're doing a large design and you're using one color like I am here, you want to use something larger so that you could work rather quickly and get your coverage done as quick as possible. No reason to use something really small if you could use something a little bit larger and be a little bit more efficient, right? Like I said, this is going to be pretty quick, pretty simple, just 2 colors. I might need to grab a little bit more paste here. Trying to be careful about where I accidentally got the shimmer shadow paste. And as you can see, a little bit of paste goes a long way. I'm going to go back over, remove any excess that I have here. It looks like I already did a pretty good job with that. Let me grab a little bit more paste out of the jar and finish this up. Okay, how quick and easy was that? Okay, it's time to peel and reveal. I'm going to lift up. You always want to lift from the top to the bottom, the left or the right. You never want to pull or tug on the corners. Looks like I was a little bit light in that area, so I'm going to go back over it. You have to kind of watch. Sometimes our stencils are distressed, and it's a little hard for me to tell. Is it the distressed, or is it how it really is? Oh, okay, obviously it's distressed because it's like that all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to gently lift it up. If I see anything that needs a little bit more paste, I'm going to put it back down, but this is looking good. How is that? How quick and simple was this? Now, I am going to move this over and let it dry. It's going to take about 8 minutes or so. Generally, our paste will dry in about 5 minutes, but any of the anything with shimmer in it takes about a few minutes longer, so maybe about 8 minutes for the shimmer. So let me move this out of the way, and I will show you how to clean your stencil. Ideally, you could take it over to the sink, but I don't have a camera over at the sink, so I am just going to spritz it with a little bit of water here. Generally, I will use a board eraser to clean, here it is, a board eraser to clean my my transfer, my stencil. And this is one that's been used. I'm just going to wet it, and it's really good at grabbing the chalk paste off of the stencil. Of course, it looks like I probably sprayed a little bit more water here than I needed to. So I just want to give this a little bit of a scrub. You could go lightly. There's no need to put a lot of pressure. And then I'm going to grab a disinfecting wipe and clean it up. Now, over at the sink, I would just run my water on it. If you have a spray, use a spray. You want to make sure that you get the chalk paste out of the silkscreen of the stencil. And if you're not sure, you could always lift it up to look. Make sure you can see through it. You can see that the silkscreen is like a fine mesh. Boy, I'm having everything fall on me tonight. Let me move my backer out of the way. I'm just going to go over this again. Now notice on here, I don't know if you could see it, where I had the shimmer shadow, the black, it's kind of stained my stencil. That's okay. It won't hurt it. It just doesn't look as nice and pretty as it did before, but it's fine. Make sure I've got the chalk paste out of my wording there. Flip it over, and now I'm going to clean the adhesive side. I generally don't use the board eraser on the adhesive. To me, it just seems like a little too rough, so I try and just use my disinfecting wipe. But obviously, if you're doing this at a sink, you could actually use your fingers and just kind of massage the paste off and whatever. Let me clean my fingers a moment and clean up this back. So first clean the front that you applied the paste on, and then you want to clean the adhesive. Flip it over and clean the adhesive side. Whoops. And be careful. Don't be in such a hurry like I am here. You don't want it to come up and get stuck to itself. So take your time. You never want to let your transfers or stencils sit in water, because the longer they sit in water, the more they will diminish that adhesive. And being that they're reusable 8 to 12 times or more, you want to keep as much of that adhesive as you can. Now, I know we deliberately use the fuzzing cloth to diminish the adhesiveness. So we basically put lint on the adhesive back so that it wasn't as sticky. Well, now we're gonna remove that lint. I just take a disinfecting wipe and go over my stencil in one direction. And as I go wiping across it, it'll start lifting the fuzz or the lint from my fuzzing cloth. Now, if you don't have a fuzzing cloth, you could use a towel or a sweater or a pair of jeans, anything that's going to have a little bit of lint. You can see that I'm picking up some teal little fuzz balls. Well, that's the lint that was deliberately applied. So we want to get all of that off. And you can actually feel or hear it. It'll start gliding across it a little bit easier, so you know it's clean. Any doubt, just lift it up to the light and make sure that you could see through the stencil. Now, I'm going to move this over to a flat surface, lay it down, sticky side up to dry. Let me do that. This is our Aiden board. I need to clear more room. I know I should cap up my paste, but I'm not. I'm going to work as quickly as possible here. This is our Aiden board. It's a beautiful distressed board. It is a porcelain metal surface, and it is magnetic. I have used this before for another design, but I'm going to remove the design. This has probably been on here like a year and a half at least. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to remove chalk paste from a chalkboard. Got a little smudgies over here. And generally I will use the board eraser like I did, or you could use, we have a board scraper that you could use if you want to. Either one of them is fine. And you can let it rest a minute or two after you spritz it with water before you actually remove it. Give the water a chance to dissolve the chalk paste. That's all we're really doing. And then I'm going over with the board eraser and removing anything else. If you ever have something on one of our chalkboards where you have a little ghosting or whatever, and you've cleaned it, but you're still seeing a little bit of the image, just wet it with water again and use a board eraser and go over it one more time. And just grabbing a paper towel here to pick up some of that water. I'll go over this and clean it again. Now, wasn't that easy? So basically, you could use your boards over and over again. Maybe you use this for something patriotic in July. Well, maybe you want to put a little fall decor on it now. That's fine. Just erase it and reuse it. How wonderful is that? Now, the other thing that our fuzzing cloth is good for is also good for removing streaks. So I like to, ooh, I see a little bit of ghosting here. There's some little, see if I could bring it a little bit closer. Oops. Little white lines along the edge. I'm going to go back over that with our board eraser. Give it a little scrub and get rid of that ghosting. And then I'm going to use the microfiber side of the fuzzing cloth to remove any streaks. Our fuzzing cloth is right now, it's on sale in our summer ween, our sales category on the website. Great time to pick it up for a nice reduced price. We have an awesome Labor Day sale going on right now. I'll include detailed information about it at the end of this video, but it's a great way to get things at a major discount. Yeah, I wasn't sure where I was seeing this. I see a little smudging over here. Let me go back over to the side and get rid of that. So looking good. What do you think? Now, here's our oval. Give me a moment. I need to clean my fingers. They've got a little bit of chalk paste on them. I thought this would add a little bit of dimension and it would look nice on the Aiden board. I love the Aiden because it's distressed and it's really timeless and classic. And did I mention it's magnetic? Yes, it's magnetic. So I'm going to use these magnets. On the back of my oval. They're adhesive. I think 4 should do it. Oops, they're getting stuck to my fingers. Okay. So what do you think? The end of one journey is the beginning of the next. And then when I want to, I'm trying to get fully on camera here, I'm sorry. I'm going the opposite way, aren't I? Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Just lift it off, and I could use this for something else. How cool is that? I love the magnetic surface. Thank you so much for watching this evening. Our Labor Day special is in effect right now. It is for designers and for Perks members, and you could become a Perks member for only $10 up through August 31st. What do you get for being a Perks member? It's normally $20 per month, but even in August you will get a $20 product credit, so essentially $10 for free. And you also get 30% off of everything. How cool is that? Now, when you combine that with the special, you will get your 30% off for being a Perks member, plus the Labor Day special, an additional 20% off. How wonderful, right? Just use promo code LABOR, LABOR20, to get an additional 20% off $100 or more orders. What a time to stock up. Go to the link displayed above and click on Perks. If you have any question, comment Perks, P-E-R-K-S, and I'll be happy to help you out. Don't miss out on this great deal.